Thank you for joining us on Republic TV. Let's get you the news summarized with Note Assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. IED blast in Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district. 9 Jawans are martyred as Maoists target their vehicle. CAG's findings on Kejriwal Chief Minister's residence reports viewers staggeringly 96 lakh rupees on curtains, 67 lakhs that are used on marble. 3 cases of HMPV reports in India from Bengaluru and Ahmedabad. No international travel history. And India condemns Pakistani airstrikes in Afghanistan, says it's an old practice of Pakistan to blame its neighbors for its own internal failures. That was the news summarized with Note Assist using Galaxy AI on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Let's start our big story of the day. And viewers, our top focus. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expected to resign, finally, possibly, as the leader of the Liberal Party this week amid internal party dissent and low public opinion ratings, according to a media report. The 2 newspapers citing sources say it's unclear when exactly Trudeau, who has been Canada's Prime Minister since 2015, will step down, but a resignation is expected to come before a national caucus meeting on Wednesday. The sources who spoke recently to the Prime Minister also said that Trudeau realizes he needs to make a statement before he meets the Liberal caucus, so it doesn't look like he was forced out by his own MPs. Now, they're unsure about what the Liberal Party's national executive plans to do so and replace Trudeau as leader are going to be, but it's unclear whether he's going to leave immediately or stay on as Prime Minister until a new leader is selected. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Niranjan. Niranjan, this is extremely welcome news for India, but we need to get a sense of what exactly the strategy that is being planned is, as Trudeau, who's given out one flop after the other, even when it comes to Canada's own housing policies or Canada's own internal crisis brewing, he couldn't see the line. What seems to be the way ahead for Trudeau, who seems to be possibly resigning soon?
Well, before that, I just have a little bit of a breaking news update that I'd like to give in. If I can go across to that breaking news now coming in rhythm. This is, just before Canada begins its day. It's a Monday, and it's a fantastic Monday, especially for the opposition in Canada. Let me go across to that breaking first up. Because Justin Trudeau's staffers, the PMO, that is the outgoing Canadian PMO, staffers who work for Justin Trudeau are going to meet today. That's the breaking news update that I wanted to get in right now. The first breaking news update we're getting in from the media in Canada and from the different media outlets reporting on the imminent ouster of Justin Trudeau, that the PMO staffers are meeting as Trudeau's announcement looms. It's only a question of when. It's not a question of if he will resign, it's a question of when he will resign, and in all likelihood he's going to resign today. Justin Trudeau could resign as early as today, and we are hearing that staffers in his office will meet today to chart out their path. Yes. And his chief of staff, I repeat, Trudeau's chief of staff, will also convey that they do not see a path forward in the absence of support from the caucus, which means Justin Trudeau's PMO also believes there is no way forward for Justin Trudeau. They believe there is no support. He has lost out support. A key ally of his called Jagmeet Singh of the NDP, pro-Khalistani. We've seen Jagmeet Singh of the NDP, was literally the lifeline for Justin Trudeau which was why Justin Trudeau bent backwards to accommodate and openly back the farmers' protests, even in New Delhi. But this is a big setback for him because Jagmeet Singh has also just towards the last week of December, he has announced that he will bring in a no-confidence motion against Justin Trudeau and the kind of opposition that he's been facing in the last few months. And I want to record that because pictures don't lie. And what happens in the Canadian Parliament, it's available in the internet, right? It's all over the media. We all have access to the global media, the global wires. And I want to show you some of the pictures before going across to the former High Commissioner of India who served in Canada, Vikas Swarup, will be joining us live. But before that, if I can show the pictures, if I can show you the pictures first up, one by one, right? At one point of time, India had been close to Justin Trudeau. We rolled out the red carpet at one point for him, but in the last few engagements, even our Prime Minister was least interested, right? Even the Prime Minister had snubbed Justin Trudeau. He had snubbed Justin Trudeau at the G20 summit, so much so that it was so obvious that Joe Biden was trying to pull the Prime Minister close to Justin Trudeau just so that the Prime Minister would, even give him that 1 second of attention. It was actually 1 second of attention that Justin Trudeau got from Prime Minister Modi during the G20 summit. Look at that. That's how awkward it was, right? Joe Biden had to literally hold his hand and make him look to the left and force Prime Minister Modi. Joe Biden pulled Justin Trudeau with his right hand, put his left hand over the shoulder of Prime Minister Modi, and he literally, tried to coerce a hi hello at the G20 summit. That's how awkward it got between the two countries. And of course, he's not popular. Forget about India. He's not popular in Canada. He's so unpopular that pictures will tell you, right? If I can play out the different images, these are pictures and videos of how people are abusing Justin Trudeau, across Canada. Wherever he goes, he's confronted by people. People ask him awkward questions. They abuse him. They tell him he's pretty useless as a leader, and it's about time for him to leave office. See, look at him. That's another day of Justin Trudeau being humiliated in public. Look at him. There's a woman, in fact, in this video, which is being circulated on social media. That's Justin Trudeau enjoying Christmas break. And then she puts out her hand to shake his hand. And then she abuses him, right? That is Justin Trudeau. That's his popularity. That he's so popular that wherever he goes, he gets abused, right? And I'll tell you why he's so unpopular. Let's show you the other pictures, right? The other pictures of why he's so unpopular in Canada. These are pictures of how he gave a free run to the Khalistanis, so much so that they attacked Indians. They entered Indian temples and attacked Indian temples. This was a Brampton temple attack when Khalistani supporters, whose biggest backer was Justin Trudeau, let them do that. And then there was so much of an international backlash that was finally the final nail in Trudeau's coffin, because he was isolated. After that, he was forced to admit that yes, this was wrong, and they had crossed a line. And there are more pictures. In fact, if I can show you why he's unpopular, images through the Trudeau regime in Canada and how bad it's been. Garbage on the streets of Canada, right? Their economy is in shambles. That's the biggest talking point on how the middle class and different people in the Canadian society are unable to make ends meet. They can't make ends meet in Canada. Prices have hit the roof. And Justin Trudeau, as a Prime Minister in the last 10 years, has been unable to bring his country to any semblance of a decent economy, let alone being the G20, right? Let me show you other pictures. Rhythm. And these are pictures of how Nihang Sikhs were seen carrying swords on the streets of Canada. They were given a free run. These Khalistanis, Nihang Sikhs and Khalistanis, I'm not clubbing the both. There are Nihang Sikhs in India as well, but Nihang Sikhs were seen carrying swords, so he was criticized for that as well. Let me show you some more pictures. And recently, and one of the most visible aspects of, the rebellion towards Justin Trudeau's regime came towards the Convoy Movement or the truckers movement. Canadian truckers held a protest over vaccination norms, about how Justin Trudeau refused to hear them out, right? And these are images of what has happened under Justin Trudeau in the last few years. I would say in the last 3 to 4 years especially, and when he crossed that line with India again and again and again. Okay, let me go across now to Vikas Swarup. Ambassador Vikas Swarup. He's been the High Commissioner of India to Canada. Good evening, Mr. Swarup. And as we get these pictures in from over the years, you've been a close observer of the going-ons in Calcutta, in Canada. What do you make of the support that he has lost out on? Was it seen coming? Mr. Swarup.
Yes, I'm not surprised at all by these reports that Justin Trudeau is about to resign. It was, as you yourself mentioned, not a question of if, but when. And the end has come sooner than we expected. I think it was triggered mainly by the resignation of Chrystia Freeland, his finance minister, who refused to go along with his scheme to, dole out millions in freebies at a time when Trump is threatening 25% tariffs on Canada. And I think that was the last straw. And since then, the caucuses in the Atlantic provinces, in Quebec, and in Ontario have rebelled. And as a result, out of the 153 Liberal MPs in Parliament, he has lost support of 131 of them. And that is why the writing was on the wall. And I think he has seen the writing and he has decided to put in his papers.
Yeah. Mr. Swarup.
I, in fact, want to also get in and ask you a question here. Not only has he done this, I don't even want to go into only what he's done with the Khalistanis, but even when it came to Canada's own housing policies, when it came to his own MPs of his own party, I don't think Justice Trudeau understood the troubles that were brewing for him. There were jitters in the Canadian economy, which he didn't see. There were jobs and housing crisis in Canada, which he didn't look at. So his troubles only became bigger, also with the illegal migration crisis. As a former diplomat, the way Justin Trudeau, I first want to get a sense on the way he behaved with our Indian ambassadors and how he summoned them and how he actually put them up in a fake case and said that they are being suspected as the main accused.
Well, that was certainly unprecedented. I don't think ever in the annals of diplomacy an ambassador to a foreign country has been declared a person of interest and then has been expelled. Our former ambassador there, Sanjay Kumar Verma, now has the, dubious distinction of being the first Indian diplomat to be declared persona non grata, which I think was totally uncalled for. There was no question of any Indian diplomat being engaged in any illegal activity on foreign soil. So this was certainly, I think, he was again playing to the gallery and trying to ramp up the pressure on India and trying to ramp up the image of India as a country which is, creating problems in Canada. And all this was, of course, done to protect China, which was really the main country contributing to foreign interference in Canada. He wanted to show that China is not the problem, India is the problem. But as you rightly said, this was just a series of blunders that has been contributing to his downfall. The cost of living crisis, most Canadians are now unable to even afford a housing. Then because of unchecked immigration, the cost of housing became unaffordable, especially because you took in so many international students, took in so many asylum seekers. As a result of that, the cost of housing became unaffordable for most Canadians. And, combined with that, the fact that the Canadian economy itself was sort of losing steam. Canada has among the lowest productivity among OECD countries. All that, I think, has contributed to create the scenario where it was just not tenable for Trudeau to continue any longer as the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Mr. Swarup, over the years, the India-Canada relationship has eroded. Like my colleague Rhythm just mentioned, it's unprecedented, the levels to which, our diplomats were brought down to. For the first time, unprecedented moves being made to accuse not just our diplomats, but the Indian government on the whole of plotting a terrorist attack, which very ironically, they had to go back on, saying that they made a mistake, they crossed a line. And they admitted their own failures in that investigation. But even before that, trying to meddle with India, trying to back the farmers' protest, and trying to back issues like the Khalistani protests, openly harboring Khalistani elements. Now, These are issues I'm sure during your tenure in Canada, you may have raised these issues, you may have discussed these issues. How did Canada take this? How did Trudeau take these issues from India? How did he deal with them indifferently in your view?
Well, look, the Khalistan issue is an issue that has been ongoing not just in recent years, but since actually 1985, when Air India Kanishka, as you know, was blown up on the 23rd of June. And we all know how botched the investigation was. People were still not held to account, even though 329 people lost their lives, and many of them were Canadians of Indian origin. But because they were brown-skinned, it probably didn't matter to them as much as it would have been if they were white Canadians who had lost their lives. So since then, the Khalistan issue has been an ongoing issue between India and Canada. It was at a low ebb when I, for instance, joined as the Indian High Commissioner to Canada in 2017. It was at a low ebb, and we thought we can do good business with Justin Trudeau, who has just come in as the new leader of the Liberal Party. He was the Prime Minister, and we thought we could do good business with him because Canadian investment in India was rising. Canadian pension funds were very upbeat on India. They were investing more than $50 billion in India at that particular point in time.
Yes,
and then, as we know, we had the visit by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to India. We all thought that would be a visit which would help solidify and cement a bilateral relationship. But unfortunately, we all know what happened during that visit and how we got blamed for the presence of a Khalistani militant at a reception that was hosted by the Canadian High Commissioner to India. And they blamed us. And I think it was from that point onwards that the relationship started going downhill. And of course, it reached its absolute rock bottom with the expulsion of our ambassador.
Mr. Swarup, one question here. Over the past year, several high-profile Canadian Liberal Party MPs, including Sean Casey, Ken McDonald, have criticized him. In fact, there was rumors of 20 MPs actually signing a pledge demanding his resignation. Do you think, to solve this domestic crisis that was brewing, he made allegations against India to deflect attention?
No. I think we are overestimating the role of India in Canadian political affairs. I do not think India was a political issue in Canada. It is really a combination of what has happened domestically and the Trump factor. I mean, let's not forget, 76% of Canada's trade is with the United States. $2.5 billion of goods travels the Canada-USA border every day. Every day. That's the extent of the engagement between Canada and the United States. So with Trump coming in, and Trump, as you know, has shown scant regard for Trudeau. He has always criticized him, he has mocked him, he has called him Governor Trudeau, almost referring to Canada as the 51st state of America. So I think it was the Trump factor coming in America and the fact that domestically the economy was not doing as well as Trudeau would have wanted it to, the housing crisis, the immigration crisis, and the fact that the Conservatives finally have a leader who can rally a lot of Canadians around him. And that's why at the current moment, Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives are leading the Liberals by more than 30 percentage points. In fact, the Liberals under Trudeau are set to get just 13% of the vote, which will probably relegate it to even the third or the fourth party.
Yeah, relegated to the third or fourth party. That's the last point that I wanted to make with you, Ambassador Swarup. My last question is, what makes him so unpopular? Because at one point of time, he was propped up, and I'm talking about the liberal media, the Western media tried to prop him up as the face of liberalism across the world. You remember how he was such a poster boy? But today, he's hated across Canada. Wherever he goes, people are abusing him. They are, speaking straight to his face, telling him that he messed up as a prime minister. He's unpopular even in the US with the new incoming Trump regime. I'm sure, even though we won't say it, unpopular with the Indian community and the Indian government, right? What makes him so unpopular?
Well, one, of course, is the fact that he has a surprising lack of self-awareness. If you look at, some of the things that he has done in the past, the use of blackface and things like that, it tells you that, he's a politician who was really very self-unaware. And secondly, I think there was a sense of entitlement, that I can get away with whatever. I think Trudeau is the most censured prime minister in the history of Canada, in terms of the number of ethics investigations into his conduct and the number of times that he has been rapped on the knuckles for, accepting gifts and freebies and things like that. But more than that, eventually it was the economy. Once the economy started decelerating and, the cost of living started biting Canadians, where even I felt it when I went to Canada last, since the time that I was in Canada. So the fact that, there was a real cost of living crisis, there was a housing crisis, there was an immigration crisis, and that the Conservatives finally had a leader, who could rally a majority of Canadians around him. I think all these, proved to be Trudeau's undoing. And then let's also not forget, globally, if you see, there is a hunger for change. In Canada, generally, leaders have a honeymoon period of maximum of 8 years. Even Trudeau's father got 8 years. Brian Mulroney got 8 years. So, Trudeau had also reached his sell-by date. He had reached his expiry date. It was just that he was not willing to acknowledge that until he was forced to acknowledge that I have reached my expiry date and I have to quit now.
Absolutely. Mr. Swarup, as Niranjan and I thank you for being with us. It was an absolute pleasure getting a first-hand sense from you as a diplomat as to what really led to the complete downfall of Justin Trudeau. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up after a short break, viewers, ID blast in Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district. 9 Jawans martyred as Maoists target their vehicle.